Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Ready for another fascinating deep dive with me? Today, we're going to be exploring something that I think we can all relate to. You know that feeling where life just feels kind of like you're stuck on autopilot? Especially when we're not being challenged enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's like going through the motions, and it can really drain our sense of fulfillment, you know?
Well, yeah, it's interesting because I think a lot of us actually crave that feeling of being challenged.
Totally.
That's how we grow and learn as people.
Exactly. Exactly. But how come something that starts out so exciting eventually loses its shine? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, think about that amazing new job that becomes routine after a while.
hmm
Or even a relationship, it starts to feel a bit too predictable. Why does that happen?
Well, the science behind that is actually super fascinating. Our brains are wired for this thing called habituation.
Habituation. Okay, break that down for me. What is that?
So essentially, habituation is our brain's way of becoming less responsive to things that are constant and unchanging. So think about it this way. If you walk into a bakery and that smell of fresh bread hits you, it's intoxicating, right?
Oh, yeah.
But after a while, you barely even notice it.
Oh, it's so true. I've totally experienced that.
Right.
You walk in and it's like, bam, sensory overload, and then poof, it's like the magic's gone.
Right.
It's like our brains are saying, okay, got it, moving on. Like,
Huh.
what's next?
Exactly. It's not that the smell has disappeared, it's just that your brain has adapted to it.
Okay.
And this happens with all sorts of stimuli, not just smells. It happens with sights, sounds, even emotions.
So is this why I've always heard this, and I kind of believe it to be true. Is this why the day before vacation is often more exciting than the actual vacation?
Yeah.
I've even heard, there's research about how vacation happiness peaks at 33 hours.
Yeah.
But why is that?
That pre-vacation excitement, it's all about anticipation.
Wow.
And it turns out that anticipation is like this powerful happiness booster.
Really?
Our brains love looking forward to something new and exciting.
Uh-huh.
But then once we're actually on vacation, that novelty wears off and our brains start to habituate to the experience.
So are you saying that shorter, more frequent breaks would actually be better than one long vacation?
You know, it might sound counterintuitive, but research suggests that spreading out your vacation time into shorter, more frequent breaks could lead to greater overall happiness.
Oh, wow.
So instead of banking it all on that one big trip, maybe consider taking, long weekends or mini adventures throughout the year just to kind of keep that sense of novelty and anticipation alive.
Now, that is some actionable advice I can get behind.
Yeah.
I'm already thinking about all the little getaways I could squeeze in. That's awesome. Okay, so we've talked about how this habituation can impact our enjoyment of experiences,
Yeah.
even the positive ones, right?
Yeah.
But what about relationships?
Mm.
Oh, I feel like this is where it could get really interesting.
It absolutely applies to relationships, especially long-term ones. Over time, partners can become less responsive to each other. And it's not because they care less, it's just their brains have simply habituated to the other person's presence and their behaviors.
So it's not that the spark is gone, it's just hiding, like under a pile of comfy routines.
Exactly. And there's some fascinating research by Esther Perel. She's like a renowned relationship therapist that sheds light on this.
Okay.
And she found that people often report feeling more attracted to their partner when they see them in a new context.
You know what? That makes so much sense. Like, when your partner is like charming a room full of people at a party
Yeah.
and you're looking at them like, wow, who is that?
Exactly.
You get that like renewed sense of attraction.
Yes. Or like when they're trying a new activity or interacting with people you don't know, it's like seeing them with fresh eyes, which triggers this dishabituation response.
Dishabituation. So that sounds like the opposite of habituation.
You got it. It's a way of resetting that habituation process.
All right.
It's about introducing novelty and change to kind of reawaken those dulled senses and reignite that spark.
So if we want to combat this sense of autopilot in our lives and in our relationships, we need to actively seek out dishabituation.
That's a great way to put it. And that's where having growth mindset comes in.
Okay.
So a growth mindset is the belief that your abilities and intelligence can be developed through dedication and hard work as opposed to being fixed traits.
So instead of saying, I'm just not good at this, I should be saying, I'm going to learn how to be good at this.
Exactly. It's about embracing challenges, learning from our mistakes, and constantly striving to improve.
Okay, so how do we apply this growth mindset to actually break free from autopilot? Like, what are some tangible things we can do?
Well, there are actually a lot of practical strategies that we can use, and they don't have to be, these drastic changes. Even small shifts can make a big difference.
I'm all ears.
We-
Let's dive into those strategies.
So one of the simplest yet most effective ways to kind of shake things up is to introduce novelty into your daily routine. Remember how we talked about that visual illusion where if you stare at a fixed point for too long, the colors start to fade to gray?
Yeah. It was on the cover of your book, right? Like,
Yeah,
our brains get bored with the same old input.
exactly. But the amazing thing is, as soon as you shift your gaze, even slightly, the color instantly comes rushing back.
Wow.
It's because you're exposing your neurons to a new stimulus and they start firing again.
So it's like we need to metaphorically shift our gaze in life to bring back that vibrancy.
That's the idea. And you can apply that principle to so many areas of your life. Like, instead of taking the same route to work every day, try a different path. Explore a new neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
Listen to a different genre of music.
Mm.
Even something as simple as rearranging your furniture can actually make a difference.
Oh, I've definitely noticed that when I change up my workspace, I feel more energized and creative. It's like a mental reset.
And speaking of mental resets, another powerful strategy is to disconnect from technology from time to time.
Ooh, that's a good one.
We live in a world of constant stimulation, right? It's so easy to get caught in that endless scroll of social media or streaming services.
Oh my gosh.
But even disconnecting for short periods allows us to break free from that overstimulation and gives our brains a chance to reset.
It's like a digital detox for our brains.
Yeah,
But honestly, sometimes the boredom can be so uncomfortable.
that's true. But boredom can actually be a good thing. It can spark creativity and lead us to seek out new experiences.
Really?
Think of it as clearing the mental clutter so that new ideas and inspirations can emerge.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So we're shifting our gaze, embracing boredom. What else can we do to get out of this autopilot rut?
Picking up a new hobby can be incredibly fulfilling. It could be anything that sparks your interest: painting, writing, learning a new language, playing a musical instrument, gardening, volunteering. The possibilities are endless.
Yeah, this is where I think connecting back to our values is so important. Like when we choose hobbies and activities that align with what truly matters to us, it becomes so much more than just like a distraction. They become sources of meaning and purpose.
Absolutely. And don't underestimate the power of building new relationships.
Oh, yeah.
Joining a club, taking a class, or even just striking up conversations with new people can lead to unexpected connections and enriching experiences.
It's all about pushing ourselves outside of that comfort zone, right? But what about those of us who feel stuck in our careers?
That's a great question. If you're feeling bored or unchallenged in your career, it might be time to explore different opportunities, maybe taking on new responsibilities in your current role, or even considering a career change altogether.
It's all about growth, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it sounds like a lot of these strategies can be applied to different areas of our lives. Like the idea of seeking out novelty in a relationship could also apply to, our work or our hobbies.
You're exactly right. The key is to be intentional about introducing novelty and challenge into your life, whatever that looks like for you.
So what's one small but meaningful change that our listeners could make this week to shake things up? What's one actionable step they could take to kind of reawaken that sense of excitement and purpose?
I would challenge them to think about one area of their life where they feel stuck or unfulfilled. It could be their job, their relationships, their hobbies, or even just their daily routine.
Okay, so they've identified this area. Now what?
The next step is to brainstorm one small but concrete action they could take to introduce novelty or challenge into that area.
Like, remember, it doesn't have to be a huge change. It can be as simple as trying a new recipe, taking a different route to work, or reaching out to a friend you haven't spoken to in a while.
Exactly. It's about taking small intentional steps in the right direction. And it's about, building that momentum, one small win at a time. And as you start to experience the benefits of these small changes, you'll naturally feel more motivated to keep going.
It's like that saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Precisely. And remember, it's okay to experiment and try different things. Not every attempt will be a success, but that's part of the learning process.
Failure is just feedback, right?
Yeah.
It's an opportunity to learn and adjust course.
Exactly. And I think it's important to be patient with yourself, too. Change takes time. It's not always easy. There will be setbacks along the way. But the key is to just keep moving forward, even if it's just one small step at a time.
This has been such an insightful conversation. I'm starting to see how this whole habituation thing plays out in my own life. It's really amazing how like just these small shifts in perspective can make such a big difference.
I'm so glad to hear that. Remember, breaking free from autopilot, it's about embracing that growth mindset, seeking out novelty and challenge, and connecting with what truly matters to you. It's about living a life that is vibrant and engaging and full of purpose.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with this final thought. Knowing that our brains are wired to adapt to routine, what small but meaningful change could you make this week to shake things up and reawaken your sense of excitement and purpose?
And we encourage you to share your thoughts with us. Keep the conversation going. Head over to our social media platforms and let us know what you discover on your journey to break free from autopilot.
Until next time, fellow deep divers, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep growing.